Okay, GPA, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines are open. Go for it.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for June 6th, 2023. We have one canceled public hearing this evening, and that is Lisa Levitin. That's Suffolk Tax Map number 300-157-3-17. So our next public hearing, I'll read into the record, is the applicant is Elaine Hyman at 37 Beach Avenue in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-175-3-14.1. The size and location is 11,870 square feet. 37 Beach Avenue, Beach Hampton, Section 3, map number 1287 in Amagansett. The description is to construct a 152 square foot first floor addition to the residence, a 54 square foot deck addition, an upgraded sanitary system, and cellar entrance, and to remove an existing outdoor shower, stone, and brick walkway on a parcel containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and three variances of 63 feet, 79 feet, and 63 feet from 255-430 wetland setbacks are required to allow a first floor addition 37 feet, a deck addition 21 feet, and a cellar entranceway 64 feet from wetlands where 100 foot is required, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, 8E flood zone, elevation 10, and the seeker class is type 2. And council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do. Pursuant to section 255-9-23 of the Town of East Hampton Code, we have both certified mailings and certified postings completed on May 25th, 2023, 10 days prior to today's public hearing.
Thank you. Joan, is your report?
Yeah.
Tyler?
Tyler, can we start the photos?
Sorry.
So this is a copy of the posting. Next, just a photo of the front yard where the new IA system is going to go. Next, that's looking towards Montauk Highway, towards Bluff Road, sorry. Next, and that's looking in the other direction, my car. This is going around the side of the house to the right. Next, that's, I guess, for garbage in front of the cars, in front of the garage, in front of the parking area, and there's a gate to the left. Next. Now I went through the gate and there's a pathway over sandy soil and whatnot. Next. I'm walking along the path. Next. That captures the deck and the area on the deck that they want to fill in and make part of the addition. It reminded me of one we granted recently where they did the same thing. They had a hollowed out area that they wanted to fill in to make livable space. Next. That's a better picture of it with one of the owners standing in front, who's here today. Next. That's the deck looking towards the street. Next. Now I'm off the path and this is the structure that's behind the house. Next. Now I'm walking around this structure. Next. This is the brick patio that they're in the process of removing behind the standalone pre-existing non-conforming structure. Next. I'm walking around the structure. Next. It has, the structure in the rear has an outdoor shower, which you're looking at. Next. There was also a raised garden planters to one side of the house. Next. That's the outdoor shower. That's another shot of the outdoor shower and a standalone shed. Now I'm walking around back towards the house. Next, I'm going around the house. Next. That's the pathway around the house, the back of the house. Next. This is the outdoor shower that they plan to remove as part of installing a crawl space door. Next. Oh, it's a shot of the shower. Next. Now I'm leaving the other side of the house. Next. And that's a shot after I walk through. And in back, oh, sorry. In the structure in back that's sort of dark gray with the light gray is where they want to put the crawl space cellar door. Next. This is the front area from the front looking towards the street where they want to put the IA system. And I think that's it. No, one more. It's quite overgrown and not mowed. Next.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you, Joan. Any questions? We have the applicant. Hi, Britton, how are you? You swear to affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Deline, members of the board, Britton Bistrian, tonight representing Alon Hyman and his wife, and owners of 37 Beach Avenue in Amagansett. I'm also joined this evening by Michelle Hugo, who is the architect of record for the project. Should there be any questions for the owner or the architect, they are here. As Ms. McGovern walked us through, the project is a modest application. It's to construct a 152 square foot addition in the area of the house. If you look at the survey, that sort of has a bite out of the center of it. You saw it in the photographs. It's a uncovered deck area. It's sort of a pergola. And the idea is just to add that 152 square feet to living space. And the modest 54 square foot deck addition, almost adjacent to that, where there was another sort of architectural bite out of the deck. Neither of them really made a lot of sense. It's more to square everything off. And the Bilco entrance to the cellar. The application also includes removal of an existing outdoor shower, removal of some site decking, as well as the brick patio adjacent to the shed. I will note it's not a pre-existing non-conforming structure. It is a pre-existing structure. Both the house and the shed predate zoning, but there's nothing non-conforming about that structure. It's a dry accessory structure.
Sorry, I misspoke.
No problem. I just wanted to make sure the record was clear on that. So in addition to those removals, the outdoor shower and the brick patio and the decking to sort of reduce the coverage on the property as mitigation for the requests in front of you, we've also offered significant revegetation, as well as because the 152 square foot addition does not trigger the septic upgrade. It's not an additional bedroom. It's just it's just reconfiguring the existing 2-bedroom house. The IA system can be seen as mitigation because it's not triggered by this application. The house was constructed prior to zoning. It's a modest 978 square feet, 2-bedroom cottage. The project has only undergone one review at the zoning board in 2016, and that was to put a new foundation under the existing house. There was no additions associated with that. The project is in minor. It's very in keeping with the 1-story cottage style in Beach Hampton, as was historically seen in that area of Amagansett. 152 square foot living space increase on a 978 square foot house is modest by definition. There are no additional rooms, just a reconfiguration. As I noted, the sanitary upgrade is not triggered with the addition, so it's an elective upgrade. There is no area on the parcel that would not require a variance. So we are seeking the variances for these 3 structures, but there's nowhere where they could be cited not requiring a variance. We've place them in what we think are the most logical locations, in that the addition and the deck addition are both in coverage areas currently. All in all, I think this is a pretty laudable application. It's modest in size. It offers some significant mitigation and should be a model for other small lots in the Beach Hampton area, which I know this board frequently sees. I don't believe as of 5:30, I was coaching Little League, so I didn't get a chance to see the file after 5:30, but I don't believe there was any letters in the file in opposition to this. And both the neighbors to the immediate north and the immediate south submitted letters to your file in support of the application and the Hyman's desire to improve their house. I don't have much further to add, but our team is here if you should have any questions for me or.
The additional decking area was to fill in what was a little slot in the deck. You could see it when you were there, and that decking has already been placed.
They're just boards. They're not actually, they're just lay on the deck.
Right, but that's the area we're
But that's the
talking
area, yes.
Yeah. So that'll get redecked? Is that
It'll
the
get
intention?
redecked.
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
you
No,
done?
go ahead. Go ahead.
On the survey, it shows an existing brick walkway to be removed. I was there. I couldn't find any evidence of a brick walkway. Is that what became the wood walkway already?
It's the stone area if you look at the survey between Beach Avenue and the house, where the septic system is going, that's the removal. In addition, I think that's bad nomenclature. It should be a wood walkway. The one that was in the
Ones
field
that were in
report.
the photos.
Correct.
So that used to be brick. Is that it? So didn't see any evidence
It
of
might
brick
be
anywhere.
mislabeled
Yeah,
because
I don't
it's
know.
a wood walkway now.
I think
and
it's
it
a
says brick.
hybrid of brick and wood.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Well, it's brick as you go towards the back structure and then, I mean, it's
Well-
wood as you go towards the back structure and then there's brick as you leave.
The brick.
I'm being told that there is
Other
brick,
side,
there is
the
brick
shadow.
under the entire wood walkway.
Oh, okay. So that's being removed?
Correct. As well as the brick patio that you saw adjacent to the accessory structure.
Any other questions?
Just for historical reasons, the 2016 decision stated, it's in the TAM. Maybe I just want you to address that, if you will. It appears the shed was, let's see, stated that
It's hard to hear you, Roy.
the seller shall remove the illegal structures on the property within 6 months of the issuance of the building permit of the project.
Correct. I spoke with Eleni about that. There had been a greenhouse on the property that was cited in that decision, and that structure was removed. There was some miscommunication that the removal was referring to the shed that's still, or the accessory structure that's still there, and it's not. It was a greenhouse that was previously on the property that was removed as part of that foundation zoning board application.
And was there a discussion on, was whether or not the accessory structure was livable at the time?
There
So
had
I
been
just-
a previous owner had illegally converted that to some degree of dwelling, whether it had been plumbing or sleeping, I'm not certain. But when they took ownership of the property, that was remedied.
Okay. Okay.
It is a dry accessory building
Yeah,
currently.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm fine.
Anybody have any questions? Are you good?
Yeah.
Tyler?
Evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department.
Tyler, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So the current application is proposing a 152 square foot addition to the existing residence, a 54 square foot deck addition, a cellar entryway, and an upgraded sanitary system, and to remove an outdoor shower and brick walkways. The project is proposing to fill in gaps essentially in both the residence and decking, which would not result in a reduction of setbacks and would help to create a more uniform shape in those existing structures. As part of the project, the applicant is proposing to install an upgraded sanitary system and abandon the existing system. The planning department considers this upgrade to be in the most conforming location on the parcel. The parcel was developed prior to the adoption of zoning, and there is an existing one-story frame building at the rear of the parcel, which is legally pre-existing non-conforming, as was just sort of mentioned. At the rear of that is a brick patio, which is proposed to be removed also. In addition to the removal of the patio, the applicant is proposing to revegetate the area behind this building and closer to the wetlands to the north. The proposed revegetation is a small area, however, it is in close proximity to wetlands and would be a benefit to the property. Should the project be approved, the applicant should submit a revegetation plan that indicates the proposed native species to be planted prior to the issuance of a building permit. While the planning department would not support further improvements on the property, the proposed addition to the residence and decking does not extend the existing footprint of the residence and does not increase the number of stories of the residence. In essence, the application is proposing to fill in gaps of the residence and the decking. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Would you be okay if we made it, the re-veg plan part of a condition?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be difficult to get
Well,
a veg
I
plan for this area.
Didn't want to hold up their
Yeah, absolutely.
application.
Yeah, we don't have any concerns with that.
Any other questions for Tyler?
I'm good.
Yeah, I guess well, I don't know. The clearing line on the south side where there are wetlands close by too, is there any buffer recommendation you might make there or
I think
okay with?
I think we were okay with what they're proposing based on the mitigation they're offering based and compared to the size of the improvements that they're proposing.
Okay.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
You have anything? Thank you. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this application? Not anybody on the phone?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, you want to make a motion?
In the matter of Hyman, 37 Beach Avenue, Beach Hampton, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-175-03-14.1, I make a motion to close the hearing and the public record.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Yeah, concur. Thank you. Thank you.
For us, I don't know
I
about the
think
TV.
if you can put it like next to Lenny and face that camera, that camera has to be able to pick it up. I'll read the next one into the record. The applicant is Menzel LLC at 12 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-189-6-7.1. The size and location is 74,815 square feet at 12 Tyson Lane, map of premises owned by James Tyson, PO Lot 6, map number 4863, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-189-6-7.1. The description is to construct a 326 square foot addition to an existing residence within side yard lot line setbacks and outside of the town's pyramid regulations. The relief sought is one variance of 14.4 feet from 255-1110 of the town code is required to construct. The proposed addition 5.6 feet from the northern side yard lot line where 20-foot setback is required. One variance of 10.2 feet is required from 255-1172D of the town code to construct the proposed addition 10 feet 2 inches outside of the town's pyramid regulations and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A5 residents, zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do pursuant to the Town of East Hampton Dam Code, section 255-9-23. We have both a posting performed on May 25th, 2023, and certified mailings performed on May 24th, 2023, which are at least 10 days prior to today's application.
Thank you. And I did a field visit. It was a brief field visit. I didn't take a lot of photos. I wanted to take a photo. Lenny, you might appreciate this. About 30 years ago, Mrs. Tyson's house was on this property.
Oh, that's right.
And we had moved it over to the adjacent property about somewhere back there.
Yeah, this is very, very special property.
Yeah, it really is. So anyway, this is a photo of the posting. This is the Tyson Lane, looking down toward Tyson Lane. This is the gate entrance. And then this is the neighbor, the Tyson Lane, and then there's this other part of it that goes. That's about all the photos I take. I figured there's enough photos on the file that's going to be presented tonight to present a better picture of what I could do in taking photos, so. Lenny?
Thank you. My name's Lenny Ackerman. I represent the applicant. Unfortunately, my hearing aids gave out just before it. I didn't charge them enough. So Roy, if just a drop higher.
All right, and I
can hear
turned
just
mine
a
up
little
for
bit.
your soft
Thank you.
voice as well.
Thank you. Thank you. We're seeking a variance for a 300 square foot addition to this property, necessitated by recent healthcare issues with one of the principals of the applicant. That's the nexus here, and that's why this little addition is being built. We're looking for a variance of a little over 14 square feet on this rear yard setback and 10 feet on the pyramid. As you'll note, this addition, as Tyler has focused properly, needs to meet the test with respect to, is it substantial and is there an alternative? Tom McManus, the architect, is here to discuss why it's in that particular location. It's necessitated by the fact that, as you know, from looking at the property, there's a substantial tree that would have to be removed if we put it in a conforming location. We've sought to put it in a location where it wouldn't require an NSRP. There is no bathroom as part of this. As I said, it's only 300 square feet. Only 200 feet of it is actually in violation of the setback. I think what's also relevant here and deserves a bit of focus is the fact of the irregular lot line. We're not sure why that occurred. It probably was due to the fact that when the Tysons subdivided this property, they needed to meet certain area requirements, so they created a diagonal line. But for that diagonal line, we would certainly meet the setbacks. I think that the grounds with respect to substantiality are met. I think there's no precedent here. This is such a unique property. It's actually a compound. And as I say, the story here and the nexus is really the health situation. I personally know that you can never anticipate when you're going to need an extra room for healthcare and the like. So that's what really this is about. This is obviously a no wetlands case. We're surrounded by property that's owned by the applicant that's not impacted. And although it's self-created to the extent that they bought it with the zoning in place, the health issue, I believe, mitigates against the self-created hardship. Tom McManus is here to answer any questions if you have with respect to the pyramid issue or with respect to the location of the room.
This question again, just a clarification, the property to the north is in common ownership?
North?
Yeah, you
Yes, I believe, yes, north is, that's correct. Right here, you're talking about this property here.
correct.
It's easement, correct, man? No, but that's strictly, that's an easement property, isn't it?
Are you talking about the shaded area?
Yeah.
Well, in other words, I understand the nexus that you're stating, but it's still in perpetuity that we're going to grant the variance.
It is.
The
yes.
nexus is a health issue, but we are, if we were to grant this is in perpetuity, and I think we did, I think it was a TAM address or some, that the property to the north, is that in common ownership?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any questions? Anybody?
I would also ask, there was a prior application back in 2010 when this house was built. And we need to have an extension of that because by the time you render your determination, that extension will expired, so I drafted a letter requesting that. I'll just make that part of the record if it's okay with you. Thanks.
You submitted that already, didn't you? Was it letter?
I don't think it
Oh, it wasn't submitted yet? Okay.
was it submitted?
I don't know if it was.
I don't remember seeing it.
We can send in a number of copies if you want.
No, she hasn't.
Just, I fear it on the side of caution, but we should just give it to you because I don't want you to be under any pressure. We have to, as you know, let me just get back to it. As part of the construction process, we're going to have to remove some structures that were built under builder's error.
That's part of the 2010?
No, they were built subsequently. There's a carryover, a violation with respect to a hot tub of something. And we're going to remove that as
That's a
part of
building
this.
department. That's not an NRSP in any
No.
way, is it?
No, we're
Okay.
taking care of all that with the building department. When we get your approval, we'll just have one C of O and we'll have everything taken care of, right? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, anybody in the public would like to address this? No, Matt, anybody on the phone?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Oh, and then we have Tyler coming up. We forgot about Tyler.
I don't have much else to add. Tyler Borzak for the planning department. There's not really any technical information to add on this application, so I'll just make myself available for questions if there are any.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Tyler? No. Thank you. And nobody in the public, thank you, Lenny.
Very nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
too. So in that case, I'd like to make a motion in the applicant of Menzel LLC at 12 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-189-6 as 7.1 to close the hearing and the public record.
I'll second it.
Concur. Concur.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Beachview One LLC. It's 372 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-88-1-14.1. The size and location is 48,438 square foot. It's 372 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk. The description is to construct a 2,005 square foot addition to the residence, 375 square foot deck addition, pool fence, and upgraded sanitary system on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation and a bluff crest. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420, and 3 variances from 255-440 coastal setbacks are required. Variances of 9.1 feet, 21.2 feet, 49.9 feet are required to allow the construction of an addition to the residence, 115.9 feet, a deck addition, 103.8 feet, and a pool fence, 75.1 feet from the bluff toe, where 125 feet is required in any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district is A residence, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do pursuant to section 255-9-23 of the Town of East Hampton Code. We have both a certified mailing and a public notice on the property, which were performed on May 23rd, 2023, which is 10 days prior to today.
Thank you. And this is Vice Chairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This first photo shows the posting on the roadside alongside the driveway, which leads up to the gate. I'm standing on Old Montauk Highway. Next. Here I am looking west on Old Montauk Highway. The sidewalk comes to this portion of the highway. You get a feel for the general layout. Next. Now I'm looking east. You see the sidewalk continues. A lot of vegetation across the way. Next. I've turned and looked directly across the street, so there's a buffer here along the road for any residents that are behind it. This is the nature of this portion of Old Montauk Highway. Next. Now I've gone through the gate and I'm looking up towards, you can see a garage. We're going to come a little further. You get an idea of the distance and how it's set back from the gate and how far we are from the highway. Next. I'm up at the garage. I'm looking forward. There's a detached garage here. It'll come into play. a little later. Next. Just wanted to get a look at the vegetation. I've just looked slightly, I'm looking out towards the highway, just looking slightly to the left of that garage. And you can see that the one of the themes here is that the area is fairly well and densely vegetated. Next. Now I've come up to the house and I'm going to look to my left a little bit as I'm coming up to this upper structure. Most of the house is down below us, but this is an upper structure. You see some firewood and some walls covered with ivy. Next. Now I've turned from the very same spot and I've looked towards the ocean, and this is an open area here that gets into an extensive amount of decking. It was read into the record. There's quite a bit of decking here. There's a wall in front of us and there's a proposed trellis way. This is an area here, we'll see it from the other angle again. This is the area where the proposed trellis way is to go. Next. Just taking a slight, we're going to tour around this area now. I've just turned slightly to my right. You start to see that it's set up for recreational purposes. Next. Now I've gone a little bit further. I'm looking at there's several freestanding walls on the upper level of this particular project. There's a bench sort of in the middle, which is that gray structure that's long, that's sitting there. And then there's a series of walls and you see some trees growing out from underneath. Next. I'm looking down from those down onto a courtyard. This is the courtyard that was behind those walls. And this courtyard accesses the bedrooms that are below. Next. I've walked across there a little bit. You saw that freestanding wall. Now you can see that they have an exterior basketball court set up on plastic grating, and the hoop is down for now. Next. I've got my back to that wall now, and I'm looking back across. You can see it's a sizable recreational area here. A lot of it's deck. Some of it has this plastic mat down. Next. I've looked over my shoulder now. From there, I'm looking, you can get a little glimpse in the lower left-hand corner of the pool, which sits below. We'll see it later. But you can see the juxtaposition of the house. It's downstairs. It's down, it's lower level recreation area, which is sand, and then looking out at the beach beyond. Next. I've just looked to my right from there. Again, now you can see the pool on my lower right, and you get any idea what the bluff looks like in this portion of Old Montauk Highway. It's all very heavily vegetated as we look west. Next. I spun a little further up. Again, now the pool's below me. I'm just rotating back. As I look back towards an adjacent neighbor, you'll see that the neighboring lot there is not does not currently have a residence on it. This is a fair amount of distance between this house and the house to the west. Next. Now, this is back. I'm looking back. You can see the garage behind me. This is that wall. And I said, this is an area where the proposed future trellis is to go. Next. I've walked around a little bit beyond that wall. And this is the area where the proposed addition is to be. If you look down, you see it on our survey and on the proposed construction plans. It's basically a triangular shape. Next. Just looking back, I've walked over the fireplace that you saw in the last photo. I'm sitting adjacent to it and I'm looking back across. There's a couple of chase lounges there and you see the wall that protects it and gives it some privacy. Next. Just an idea of the general layout. The entire upper level of this continues. There's quite a bit of decking and areas for recreation. Here's an outside dining spot with a bit of a pergola over the top. Next. This is an outside sauna, very nice. Next, but also set on the deck. From there, I take a look over the rail and look down, and you can see that they have some recreation area down below. And I'm looking at you can't quite see the bluff because it's so steep there, but we'll see it again. And you see some grassy area down at the beach level, and of course the beach stretches out to the west. Next. I've gone a little bit further, and this is beyond where the sauna was, and I can see the building in the back is the garage. I'm looking across another part of this extensive decked area. Next. This is a staircase on the eastern edge of the structure, and it leads down to the lower level. It's a very gentle one. We're going to go down that in a minute. There is the Thomas Bueller house mentioned in the adjoining property. There it sits, the shingled structure. I don't know if it's exactly 1.5 feet off the line, but it's very close to being on the property line. The fence between on this particular parcel extends all the way over to the Thomas Bueller house. Next. Now I've gone down that staircase and I'm looking back at the main structure. This is the house in its main socializing portions of it, kitchens, living room, whatnot, in this level here. And you can see the large open sandy area. Next. Now I've turned, this house has got a bit of an angle to it, and I'm looking across here, that same area. Next. This is the next one I mean. I've just looked over my shoulder and you can see the well-vegetated slope leading down to the beach. Next. This is the portion that comes off at an angle that houses the bedrooms. The swimming pool's directly in front of me. Next. I'm at the pool. I'm looking, the houses to one side and walkway to the left that's going to take me down towards the ocean. Next. I've looked over here where I'm going to go down. Those are a series of steps. We're going to see them. They're going to lead down to a gate that's going to take us to the edge of the property. Next. I'm down there near the end. You can see the gate. Those are the steps, the large bluestone pavers. Next. I've just taken a look back. These are retaining walls that retain soil up at the pool area and another one on a lower level. Next. This is the gate. This gate is set approximately at the property line for the current applicant. Next. This is a walkway that used by this applicant to access the beach. And I put a couple of photos in. This is all off of the applicant's property. This leads back up right now. I'm looking up to Old Montauk Highway. Next. I've turned in my way from right where I'm standing and I can see a couple of pavers and then some decking. Next. Here's the walkway, an older walkway, as you can tell. It's going to lead down to the ocean. Next. I continue down. Here it is. It's going to dump right down. Again, none of this is on the property, but this is the primary access to the beach. Next. Now I'm down on the beach and I'm looking back up. You can see the house, and here you can get a better view of how the bluff coming down is very heavily vegetated. It is right across the entire width of this property. Next. I've just taken a look now. I'm looking due east across the grassy area here. Next. I've turned around and now I'm looking west. Again, get an idea that there's a vegetated area here that's meant to be a buffer to the ocean, and the bluff is very well vegetated along this portion of Old Montauk Highway. Next. This is a stand of Phragmites, which is just sits alone on the face of the bluff below the applicant's house. Next. I'm going to walk back up that walkway. Next. Here I'm going up the steps. I'm back on his property, back on the applicant's property. And now there's a proposed new IA system, and I'm going to have a couple of views of it. This sits to the west of the property. You can see a wall that's sort of the terminus of the developed area for the structure. Next. I'm looking back up at it. I want you to get an idea. This is vegetated. What you can't tell here, it's fairly steep slope, but you can see a little bit of retention in the lower right. Next.
That's it.
That's it? Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
It was quite a tour.
Well, there's a lot to say. It's a big
Yeah.
property.
Big property.
Anybody have any questions for Ed? No? David? How are you?
Very good. How's everybody doing
Good.
tonight? Evening, Chairman, members of the board. David Kirst from Matthews, Kirst and Cooley, here on behalf of Beachview One LLC, the owner of 372 Old Montauk Highway. As mentioned, there's 3 variances tonight: the residence, the deck, and the pool fence. To start off, the TAM did mention and request that the pool fence be moved back out of vegetated area, and our clients will agree to that. They'll move the fence back to the edge of the clearing line so that no clearing or disturbance has to be done for the pool fence. As mentioned, there was an approval back in May of 2011 for this property. At the time, there were no variances needed for setbacks, only for clearing. So the relief that was granted in 2011 was based on old code, which had a 100-foot setback from the toe of the bluff. So now that it's been changed, and I believe shortly after this application was approved in 2011, it's now 125 from the toe, which is why we're here and need this relief. In fact, in 2011, a upper level was approved by this board in essentially the same location as where we're proposing an upper level now. The one now is slightly larger. It's, I believe, 1875 for the upper, whereas the previously approved upper level was 1425. If you see the area where these walls are, as shown in the photos, this is the area that's all going to be enclosed. And most, if not all of that, was approved in 2011 as enclosed space. It actually had a significantly larger, I'd say modern looking dome roof above it. And now that we're not proposing that, it's a flat roof now. Some of the additional space that is above what was previously approved is they are enclosing the stairway now, whereas previously the stairway was open. And currently the stairway is open. So the lower level addition, which is only 130 square feet, that is enclosing the landing for the stairs when you walk down. So right now that area is open. It's going to be enclosed since now the top of the stairs will be enclosed also. So that area, though, in enclosing that, that's why we're asking for the small variance for the decking. Because by enclosing that, it's blocking access from one side of the deck to the other. So now where it's open and you could walk through, when that wall goes in there, that would preclude you. And this is for continuity and function to allow you to go from one end of the deck to the other without having to go back inside the residence. I know that Tam did mention a minimum variance necessary in referring to the decking, but again, that was only in regards to a clearing variance. There were no setback relief variances requested, granted, needed at the time that this was originally constructed.
But it does represent an expansion towards
Yes, it does.
the nonconformity, today's nonconformity.
Yes, today's not, yes, I'm not saying we don't need a variance now, but when it was originally built, it didn't need a variance. Even at it's 103 feet now, the deck as proposed wouldn't have needed a variance then. So I understand it does need one now. I'm saying this is not a self-created issue here where they purchased and 100-foot was the setback at that time. So the proposed deck addition, which we submitted some additional material last week, will be connected to the drainage for the existing deck. There's traps and a membrane and a slab underneath the existing deck that will all be joined in together with the proposed decking if that's approved. That work will be done by hand for the demolition. There's no machinery needed on that side of the property for any of this construction. So they're going to demo it by hand. Any of the concrete is going to get pumped over by a pump truck with a boom over the top of the house. So there won't be any equipment, machinery on the seaward or bluff side of the property for any of this
Do
construction.
we have that in writing?
I do not. I can put that in writing.
It should be because.
That's what I've been told I have that in writing by email from the contractor. We could make that a condition of an approval if that's something that you'd be open to, but that is a representation that I've been given and representation I can make.
Well, building protocols are always important in these sensitive lots to us, so having it in writing, as the chairman suggests, would be what we prefer.
Okay. We could do that, and if you'd like to leave me a short time, if we're closing the hearing tonight, if you'd leave me a short time to put that in writing, I would be able to do that, within a day or two. In regards to the square footage of the residence, I know there's a little confusion in the TAM. Again, this was months worth of back and forth in 2011, determining the existing grade of the slope, what part of that existing level is below what that existing grade was and what part is above it. So the 2602 number is the amount of that that's in front of the 4-foot slope. So everything behind it, while yes, it's habitable, it's not gross floor area. That's why the approval has 2602 square foot. We had drawings done, met with the building department at that time. Luckily, I was involved, so I have some actual knowledge of this, and calculations done, slope, cutaway through the whole length of the house, showing what part of that was below grade, what part of it was above grade, above that 4-foot cutoff. And that was how that calculation of 2602 was arrived at. And as the TAM does mention that what's built there now is consistent with what was approved in the floor plan and square footages at that time. The TAM also mentions the clearing calculation. Again, at the time of this application, the variance was necessary for clearing because the area of the face of the bluff wasn't included in the lot area. So they changed the code. So now in this section of Montauk Highway, that's now included in the lot area. So we're allowed more clearing than what was permitted back in 2011.
The existing clearing, especially the one to the seaward side of the house, does that conform to the 2011 clearing allowed?
I believe so.
Because it kind of like kisses up to the CHA line. Seems a little extensive. I'm not sure. I mean,
yes, I have. I'm sure you guys have it in your file as well. This is the. This was the approved survey from 2011, from the original approval in 2011. And the proposed clearing line does go down through the CHA line. It's actually a little back from what was approved for clearing at that time. And
okay.
I know member Johan expressed about the wonderful vegetation up between the house and the road. That was revegetated by this applicant as part of the construction of the residence. So there was a significant revegetation of those areas on both sides of the driveway at the time of construction and as part of that approval. Lastly, I believe the TAM did mention approval of a different walkway than what's there. That was part of the 2011 approval. It's not part of the application now. It was approved then. It's never been built. The shared access on the neighbor's parcel is the access that we use and propose to, continue to use. There's not a new walkway being proposed. It's not on the survey. It was, however, left on one of the architect's drawings on their site plan, but that's not part of this application. As part of this, we do have a county approval already for the upgraded sanitary system. They're going to be reusing the rings that are there. They are adding another leaching area to the top of that. And it's going to be in the same place, roughly the same location as the existing system there. And any disturbance for that would be revegetated.
There was mention of a possible, I don't know if it's a possible drainage pipe.
It's
coming
mentioned
through
on
the face of the bluff.
Yeah.
Can you address that?
I don't believe it's there. I think that's left over from older survey. It's my understanding that there isn't a pipe there, and if there is, we'd remove it. But it's my understanding that there isn't a pipe there.
Well, it's very hard. I actually went looking for it. And, you can't get up that slope without, it's very heavily vegetated. So the pipe is possibly there. We just don't know that. So if it showed up on a survey, I think we wanted, I would ask that question immediately. It looked as if the pipe was there. It was for roof drainage, for water coming down and coming out.
Okay.
But how do we know if it's there or not there?
I will have the surveyor go back out and verify.
Yeah, I know the spot that, it says, shows up on the survey, possible pipe. But as I say, that's up at I think at the 30-foot elevation line, and the house is back up at another 12 feet above that. And
Correct.
30 feet below, so getting it from either angle was not very possible. And I don't think I would have found it anyway, but
Yeah, which I don't know if the surveyor walked that whole thing and found that. I know it was on prior surveys.
Yeah.
But it's my understanding that there isn't a pipe there now, so.
so you're thinking this from previous construction?
I believe
previous
so.
residents, not this.
I don't believe it's from this.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I know the approval for the prior one mentioned, any of that drainage was roof drainage was through dry wells, and I believe that was all, properly constructed.
So as long as it's very clear, and you've made it clear, not tonight, but we're not considering at all additional access to the beach. The access to the beach, and that's going to remain the same.
Correct.
Even though it shows up on the Nagel architectural drawing.
Correct.
That's not part of your application.
That's not part of our application. That there was a walkway approved in 2011, but it was just never constructed.
Any other questions?
Yeah, on my survey, the colors are a little different. The brighter green, you see it better. So the bright green line for the upper story addition ends there, and that second story deck will still be there to the east of it?
Correct.
Okay. And then that courtyard, when you look down that courtyard, there's a courtyard with plantings down below on the lower.
Correct. That's open to below. That was part of the original plans. There are, I'd say, I don't know what you call it, light wells, or there are open areas on both ends, both here is open to below, and over here, I believe is all open to below.
Mhm.
And that was all part of the original plans. There's vegetation in there as well.
Yeah. How do you get into this house?
Right now, you would walk down the stairs, and then I think you walk around and go in a door. That's the access currently.
And then does that go all the way through, the section on the east side, all the way through to the west side?
I believe so. Do we have the lower level floor plan?
Be on the plan.
There's only a minor change to the lower level floor plan, so the floor plans that have been submitted,
That's upper level?
that's the upper level. Nope. Nope.
A101.
Have to find it.
If you go to the 330, the original submission,
Lower level?
so right now you would come down the stairs and then this is all open. And so you'd walk back around and go through into the residence. What they're proposing now is to enclose the landing of that staircase. So that way that's conditioned, the upper level is conditioned above it. And that small part is now conditioned of the lower level.
So that's how the access would be from the second story addition down to the
Right.
first story.
Correct, the same,
Living
the
space.
staircase that's there,
when you're
that
enclosing.
acts, yes.
Any other questions? Good. Thank you, David. Tyler?
Tyler Morsak for the planning department again. So the current application currently in front of the board is proposing to construct an addition to the residence, additional decking, and to construct a pool fence. The property is located on the bluff face contiguous with the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The bluff crest in this area between Hither Hills and downtown Montauk wanders dramatically and in some places crosses Old Montauk Highway. The unique bluff crest in this area has resulted in the requirements that setbacks be measured from the toe of the bluff rather than the crest as is in the rest of town. Approximately 40% of the subject parcel is seaward of the bluff crest, and there are slopes in excess of 15% across the property. The current proposal is increasing the building coverage on the property by 47 square feet and total coverage by 33 square feet. However, the current coverages on the property are very close to the maximum allowable. The building coverage on the property is proposed to be 137 square feet below the maximum allowable, and total lot coverage is proposed to be 787 square feet below maximum allowable. There's no proposed change in the clearing on the lot. However, it's currently only 1,657 square feet below maximum allowable as per the town code. The proposed addition to the residence and decking are intended to be located over the existing footprint of the building, which is located within 125 feet of the toe of the bluff. This appears to be the only practical location for any further improvements on the parcel. The applicant is also proposing a sanitary upgrade to be in a similar location to the existing system. The one major concern of the planning department is the proposed 3-foot deck extension on the south side of the residence at ground level, which does not appear to be a good candidate for the variance requested. The applicant should speak to why the 3-foot extension is necessary at this time. Any reductions in the setback to the toe of the bluff on this property need to be very closely examined and a solid foundation established how it meets the variance standards. The subject property is already improved with significant structures, which received thorough review by the ZBA, including a significant amount of decking. Further, reducing the established setback should only be undertaken when benefit cannot be achieved by some other method. I believe everything else that we had concerns with in the assessment have been were mentioned and were addressed, so I don't believe I have anything else to mention other. I can answer any questions you might have.
Yes. Again, I'm going to kind of zero in on that clearing that's on the seaward side. Do you know if that's conforming to the 2011?
It looks like it's, if not exactly, very close to what was approved at the time. I went back to the aerials too to see how much it's changed. It's changed very minimally since it was constructed. It looks to be pretty accurate to what was originally approved, I believe.
On the TAM, it says it should, which I think you might have got, it should be also noted that the area labeled as stone on the survey adjacent to the proposed deck extension consists of gravel.
Yeah.
The gravel is what we see that
Yes.
he referred to, I think, as sandy.
I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Sand,
It's
gravel.
it's a gravel area. The cleared area is gravel.
Well, gravel areas are included. So is there an issue with calling it stone on the survey versus the gravel? So in other words, could stone be interpreted as in the future as a stone patio or something like that?
I don't think based on the survey that it would ever be interpreted as being able to be then improved with a stone patio. I mean, if let's say somebody had a stone patio and they wanted to redo it, they'd need an NRSP to reconstruct it anyways, but I don't think it would cause a confusion as far as what the structure is now versus, allowed. It was never approved to be a patio by the board.
One final question. Can you elaborate a little bit on the planning department's reasonings for not thinking the deck is not a good candidate for approval?
Well, it's not an insignificant variance. They need to be 125 feet. They're at 103, I believe, to the edge of the decking. It's further encroachment on the bluff face on a property that's has significant structures on it already. We didn't feel that it was appropriate to move further and further closer to the base of the bluff on the toe of the bluff. On a property that has such significant improvements already. Didn't feel that it met the variance standards. There's reasonable, alternative locations for additional decking if they needed it. There's already a significant amount of decking on the property. Sort of didn't seem like it was a necessary variance to even be requesting, essentially.
Anybody have any questions?
I'm good.
Terry?
Sorry.
Good?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you,
Thank you.
Tyler. So David, how much time do you need to submit that protocol?
2 days.
Okay,
Maybe a week.
all right.
Yeah, I have that by the end of the week. That's no problem. If the board.
So if we left it open for a week, that's okay.
For written submission, that would be perfectly acceptable. If I may address something else you brought.
Sure.
The prior approved clearing variance was allowed at 23,881. So our client has actually vegetated back beyond that, and the current clearing is only 20,453. So we're 3,000 square feet less clearing than we were allowed in 2011. So our clients are good stewards of this property. As you see in the photos, they revegetated it. They've, maintained it in a very nice manner. Nothing that they're proposing is on the bluff face. With regard to the 3-foot deck, I know I've addressed the reason for that variance being the enclosure of that lower stairway and to keep those decks continuous from one side of the residence to the other.
So it serves a functional purpose.
It does serve a functional. It's not just deck for deck's sake. It actually, by enclosing the deck, we're removing that current connection from one side to the other of the deck. So the minimal variance necessary here is 3 feet to get around the edge of that wall now.
And
So
Is
that's,
there no alternative? I mean, Tyler just said. Maybe I misunderstood that there were reasonable alternatives.
that's why I respectfully disagree with Tyler in regards to the reasonable alternatives to this proposed deck. Again, it connects one side of the decking to the other around a now enclosed structure that is currently open. And the given location of it, upland of even the bluff crest, the Sea Hill line, in an area that's already cleared, in an area that's already been significantly disturbed to build the house, we feel that there'd be no impact at all to the natural feature in allowing this, while it does benefit our client in keeping the continuity of the deck that they currently have once they move forward, assuming with this proposed plan here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to make a motion? You already asked.
Oh, no, that's right. Anybody in the public would like to, Matt, anybody on the phone?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to leave a week.
1 week.
Right? Okay. Then in the matter of Beachview 1 LLC, 372 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk County tax map 300-88-1-14.1. I want to close the public hearing, but leave the record open for 1 week. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and leave the record open for 1 week.
Second.
Well, for building protocol, correct?
Okay, for the submission of a building
Right,
protocol.
that's why we're leaving it open.
Thank you. Read my mind.
Concur.
Concur.
Doesn't matter. Who seconded? I think Jones seconded. No?
I concur as well. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, David.
Hope so.
Um,
An executive session.
Tyler, would it benefit, we're gonna go at the end.
Oh.
Tyler, would it benefit you to do the extensions of time now?
I'm indifferent.
Or are you gonna stay around for the decisions?
I'll probably stick around, yeah.
Okay, so. You okay to do the decisions?
Yeah.
Okay. We have 2 post-hearing decisions. First one I'll read into the record is Glenn Bear applicant, and that's at 24 Coolidge Road in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-68-12-11. The size and location is 18,491 square foot total, 24 Coolidge Road, Montauk Beach, Hither Hills, section map 3, lots 1511 through 1514. Map number 1318, inclusive of map number 1318 Montauk. The description is to construct a new 3,110 square foot residence with basement, garage, 209 square foot swimming pool. Wow, thunder. Joan?
I love it.
Joan?
Sounds like the hearing
like-
that I had. Oh, my
Um,
God.
402 square foot pool patio, front entry and steps, walkway, stairs, basement, entrance, retaining wall, driveway, new sanitary system and associated structures within setbacks and jurisdiction of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the town code, and 7 variances are required for this application. Variances of 50 feet, 48 feet, 48 feet, and 22 feet from 255-430 of the town code are required to construct the retaining wall 50 feet, swimming pool 52 feet, pool patio 52 feet, a residence 78 feet respectively from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance from 255-430 of the town code is required to allow clearing 45 feet from wetlands where a 50-foot setback is required. One variance of 22 feet from 255-430 of the town code is required to construct the sanitary system 128 feet from freshwater wetlands where 150 feet setback is required. One variance of 6.96 feet from 255-1172D of the town code is required to allow the construction of the residence to be 6.96 outside the town's pyramid regulations and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Who,
This was me.
Terry, you want to
Mhm.
begin?
Okay, so this hearing was originally was on April 4th of 2023. The agent was Andy Hammer and Joel Halsey from Lighthouse Land Planning. Building plans that we originally had were for 3/20/23, received on 3/23/23. The survey that we had for the night of the hearing was from 10/21/21, and then the record was left open for an updated survey, which we did receive and was updated, dated April 14th, 2023. There was a Lighthouse Land Planning memo that was submitted to us on 3/23 that submitted the updated plans from this. One of them, the original, the variance, this is an unimproved lot on Coolidge Road in Montauk, and it's a very constrained lot. The total is 18,491 square feet on it, and it is for a development of a house, a swimming pool, pool patio, the residence, retaining wall and decking. And the property itself is very, very constrained and huge changes in the grading. The street also, and if you recall from the photos, the street itself of Coolidge Road gets very narrow. And even from the road, it's several feet up just to get onto the property. And the house is proposed to be on that westernmost portion of the property. And the topology on this is very steep. And then at the back portion of it, where there's a proposed pool, it drops off pretty precipitously to a depression, which is now a wetland that was recently found in, I believe it was September 9th of 2020, when flagging was done in relation to this application. The homeowner also purchased the property around that time and are looking to do this development. Now, it's very constrained. The variances are relatively substantial. There's a 50-foot variance required for a retaining wall that is proposed to run for the entire northeastern portion of this property in order to support the pool and, as it was testified by the agent, to protect the wetland and the vegetation down to the wetlands. The pool, the house, from the initial submission, the house was 3,110 square feet. And there was a pyramid variance requested originally. At the hearing and subsequent to that, there was a submission that they removed the pyramid. They changed the plan slightly to remove the pyramid variance needed from the south side of the house, and brought in a few portions of the structure itself, making the square footage on the house updated to 2,841 square feet. There is also, they were proposing to come from off the street to an under portion garage and basement. And again, this project, looking at the plans, and it would require a great amount of excavation on that portion of the property. It's a large, it comes very close, within a couple of 100 square feet of maxing out on the GFA on this property. And I have grave concerns about the retaining wall and the pool and the whole protection of these wetlands. There was discussion, well, there was a lot of discussion about the wetlands, but the bottom line is the wetlands are there and they were found in 2020. Overall, I think this is an overly aggressive application in its entirety, both the structure and the accessory structures and the pool. There were a number, the variances are relatively large, and significant regrading would be required for the retaining wall and the fill behind it. So I am looking to deny this application in its entirety. I want to go through some of the standards. I think this does not meet the standard. The variance is from 255-420, and I think the grant of the variances will not necessarily change the character of this neighborhood, because the character is already kind of a mixed bag from the original smaller properties in the Hills area of Montauk. However, I believe for A, it will create a detriment to nearby properties in creating additional runoff and congestion and perhaps safety. I do believe that it will be a detriment to those nearby properties. If the benefit sought could be achieved by a different method feasible for the applicant to pursue than an other area variance, then I say it can. I believe that they can look at alternative designs entailing smaller buildings and structures. And the requested variances are substantial for a property that has constraints such as this one. And I believe it was not, well, maybe it actually was, I don't know about the self-created. The homeowner did buy this property in 2020. And at that same time, the wetland was flagged and found. So that may or may not be a self-created or not, but regardless, I think it does not meet the other standards. I think it will have an adverse effect and impact on the environmental conditions in the neighborhood and this affected area. And I think it also does not meet the NRSP standards for the preservation of natural resources. And going to that alternative designs can be considered entailing smaller buildings and structures, reduced yard or other setbacks, diminished and reconfigured areas of use. All those have not been exhausted to try that this preservation of natural resources is not being accommodated with this project. Looking at just a comment on the plans, back to the pyramid. The original plan had the pyramid variance required for the southern part of the lot line. When they removed that, they did tuck in a few things and remove the pyramid from the south side. But in doing so, they actually, on the plans, the construction plans on page A3, if you look at that compared to the original, the north side also now has, it meets the pyramid, but it also has it right up against the pyramid line. So this project leaves absolutely no room at all for any modification if necessary. Uh, And that is part of my rationale for the denial.
Thank you, Terry. Ed, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm largely in agreement with my fellow board member. I think that there was a lot of discussion here about the wetlands, and that was something that was discussed by both the applicant and by the planning department. For me, in the end, the wetlands is important, but there were other factors here that entered into it. The wetland issue is one that can be discussed here and in other places throughout the town. But I think what's significant here is that the property was purchased in 2020, and that was after these wetlands had been flagged. So it wasn't information that was not available to the individual when they purchased the lot. And as we say often here, with a lot of these more recent sales, it's really incumbent on the owners to understand what they're getting into and maybe what's happening when you are up against various conditions that might bring you in front of the ZBA. So that was a factor here, rather than discussing how it was increased in size. And by the way it was increased in size was exactly what we're constantly ruling about, and that is the more we harden spaces and the more we develop, the less opportunity there is for water to find its natural way along, and we find areas where we suddenly see wetlands increasing or being created on their own. So I didn't spend a lot of time alone on the wetlands issue. It was an issue for us, and it's one we consider carefully. But I do think that in general, the project is oversized for the lot. It's a constrained lot. We're looking at it came down from 3,100 feet to 2,841. That's a movement. It's still much too large a house for this size property. And part of the reason that it's large is because when you're asking to have to work with this topography, all of a sudden we need a retaining wall to retain upwards of 6 foot of fill across the entire northeast portion of the property. That's a very significant ask on the part of the applicant here that changes the contours, and it's going to cause for an awful lot of excavation. The beneath the garage is going to be down off of Coolidge. It was going to call for a lot of excavation there. I think that the project seemed oversized to me from the beginning. So there's a couple of points here that I wanted to make. I also think that there was a lot of conversation here about there were similar houses around. There are houses with pools surrounding it, and whether they should or should not have been approved and whether they're a good idea or a bad idea no longer really matters. What matters is that we're dealing with conditions today that are perhaps different from when they were approved. The conditions today mean that there's a wetland to be considered, and it means that on a property this constrained with this much topography, I think it's very difficult for me to move forward and want to approve it. When I go looking at the standards here, I'm going to agree again largely with my fellow board member on the 255-8-50B, whether the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some other method. I think in decreasing the size of the house and coming in with a new layout would certainly help there. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, yes, it is. Whether the grant of the variance will have an adverse effect impact on the physical environment conditions in the neighborhood. I think a project of this size and magnitude with the amount of construction necessary will have a negative effect. Whether the difficulty causing the applicant to request an area variance was self-created in the sense of asking for this larger build, it is self-created. And under 255-5-51, 1 and 2, is an alternative reasonable use possible on this property? Does one exist? Yes, I do think there is one by redesigning the ask. Alternative designs entailing smaller buildings and structures will help reduce yard setbacks. I think yes, the answer is there. And then under 255-5-40K, environmental protection, the natural characteristics of the site are such that the proposed use may be introduced there without undue disturbance or disruption of important natural features. I don't believe it can be. I think a project of this size, reconfiguring this constrained parcel is too large, and therefore I'm looking to deny this application, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Denise, you want to go?
Sure. I think the topography on this unimproved parcel was admitted by all to be a challenge. And the testimony given at the public hearing is admitting that increased development in the area has increased runoff and sustained a habitat to create an additional wetland. Every week, the planning department comes before this board with their environmental assessment of each project, and as a board member, I reflect on their analysis. What I don't do is flag wetlands, and when testimony is made that surrounding development with increased removal of revegetation and regrading coupled with an increased amount of impermeable surfaces has contributed to the newly formed wetland, that is testimony that has to be taken seriously because the application, aside from variances, is asking for a natural resource special permit. The applicant and their agents had the opportunity to appeal this wetland delineation line, and they chose not to. As a board member, I'm given two choices. I either contest a wetland delineation line or I review a request for variances within setbacks and jurisdiction of freshwater wetlands. The other compelling testimony in the TAM is that these wetlands, the newly formed, now contain wetland, referring to them as indicators, plant species, such as ironweed, sedges, elderberry, soft rush, and goldenrod. These wetlands are important in an area of steep topography in controlling floodwaters and runoff. So one can ascertain that over a period of time, increased development from surrounding areas has impacted the area. This is not, however, a standard or a reason to grant. The mass and scale of this project is not in keeping with the natural resource special permit standards or variance in terms of the constraints on the property. The application is seeking approval to construct a very large residence with a swimming pool, patio, and associated structures. This will be a tremendous disturbance to this already constrained property. The swimming pool and patios are 50% variances. These are amenities. The retaining wall is 6 feet in height along the entire northeast side of the property. I mean, it's a solid wall. It will change the grade from 52 feet to 58 feet on a site that is topographically challenged with runoff problems. A significant amount of this fill will be required to access the basement/garage. And given the constraints of this property in an area that is already showing impacts from surrounding development, we should really not get in the habit of granting these applications when there are other alternative reasonable uses for the property. The application should be looked at for a more reasonable sized residence with limited structures due to the environmental constraints of the property. In terms of the clearing variance, the project is proposing to clear nearly the entire parcel that is landward of the 45-foot clearing setback, and after construction is complete, the applicant is proposing to revegetate 5 feet of the clearing to reestablish vegetation up to 50-foot minimum clearing setback from wetlands. So this is an unimproved parcel. More thought should have been given to the importance and value of vegetation buffering wetlands and controlling runoff and the impacts of the development. In terms of the scenic easement, it might not even be adequate in terms of what's being proposed in connection with the environmental constraints of the property. The application before us, the mass and scale of the residence and structures are not in keeping with 255-850, 255-551, and 255-540. Specifically, and to make our record complete, will the grant of the variance cause an undesirable change or create a detriment to nearby properties? I believe it will, with the runoff issues they have in this area. Can this be achieved by another method? Yes, it can. Whether the requested area variants are substantial. These are very substantial variances. Whether the grant of the variance will have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Yes, it will. Whether the difficulty causing the applicant to request an area variance was self-created. I do believe it was, because the mass and scale of this project, they really should have taken the environmental constraints of this property. They should have considered them more when planning their project. From 255-551, there are alternative uses of the property that do exist, alternative designs entailing smaller buildings or a structure, reduced yard or other setbacks, or diminished or reconfigured areas of use are determined to be not to be effective in preventing the loss of potential damage to designated natural features. From 255-540, environmental protection. The natural characteristics of the site are such that the proposed use may be introduced there without undue disturbance or disruption of important natural features. For these reasons stated, I am going to deny this application.
John?
Yeah, I can't possibly repeat everything that everyone said, but I agree with denying it. I wanted to add that initially I was thinking, well, maybe we can permit the house in its reduced form, but the topography is so challenging, and they proposed this retaining wall where they weren't clear whether, even if you denied the patio and the pool, whether the retaining wall itself was vital to maintenance of the house. And so for that reason, I would deny the house, which could also be smaller in mass. But I think, assuming they want to come forward again, they should consider just coming forward with a smaller house, but make it clear how that house will work with the topography, and still permit adequate drainage. And I also found it compelling that they hadn't appealed the wetlands flagging. That's it. I don't have anything further to add.
Thank you. I also agree with the denial of this application. It appears to me that this design, this application is more driven by a need for a pool. That's what it appears for me, that caused this massive regrading of the site
Yeah.
and this retaining wall.
It just wasn't
Yes.
clear.
And that's what it appears to me before. And I think that massive regrading environmentally does not come up to the standards that is required by the NRSP standards that we have. You have eloquently gone through them. I agree with the standards you have gone through. And I think this project, based on the condition of the site, I think more care needs to go into the protection of the natural features of this area and the topography that this owner bought, that this owner in 2020. I agree with our vice chair on that premise. So without going further into it, I agree with this board and its decision. Council, we okay?
Yep.
It's thin.
Okay, next we have James DeMartis at 18 School Street in Springs, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-80-30-18. Size and location is 10,519.11 square feet at 18 School Street, Springs, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-80-3-18. The description is to allow an existing 280 square foot garage to remain within rear yard lot line setbacks and outside the town's pyramid regulations. 2 variances are required for this application. 1 variance of 1.4 feet from 255-1110 of the town code is required to allow the garage to remain 8.6 feet from the rear yard lot line. Where a 10-foot setback is required, 1 variance of approximately .5 feet from 255-1172T of the town code is required to allow the garage to remain approximately 5.5 feet outside of the town's pyramid regulations and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A residence, zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And this is in member Savarise's area, so
Yes. Okay. This public hearing was held on April 18th, 2023. This property is located on the south side of School Street, and the project before us is to allow a 288 square foot garage shed to remain within rear yard lot line setbacks and outside of the town's pyramid regulations. A building permit was issued on January 11, 2021. The survey attached with the building permit included a hand-drawn location for the shed/garage. The survey was prepared by Scalise Land Surveying, was last revised March 8th, 2022, dated received March 31st, 2022. This is a 10,519 square foot lot. The applicant, James DeMartis, appeared on behalf of himself, and he was, quite frank about what happened. Out of carelessness, he laid out the footing for the shed, which houses one single car, and he didn't realize he was encroaching on one boundary. He didn't realize it till after the inspection that he had committed an error. The most affected neighbors are supporting this application via an email that we do have in the file. They live at 20 School Street, Michael Jackson and Rachel Horowitz. Tyler Borsak appeared on behalf of the planning department, noted that it's a very straightforward application, 2 variances, one from the rear yard and a slight pyramid. And he did also note that they did have a building permit issued in 2021. This is going to have very little impact. And I'm looking at the variance standards for 255-850, whether the grant of the variance will cause an undesirable change in the neighborhood or create a detriment to nearby properties. I don't feel it will. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. There's very small lot. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, it is obviously not. Whether the grant of the variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, no. And whether the difficulty causing the applicant to request this was self-created. Well, self-created in a sense that, he made a mistake, he made an error, which he has agreed to. So I think that this application, it's very de minimis. It is in keeping with 255-850, and I approve this application.
thank you.
Well, I agree with my fellow board member. Looking at the survey, and you can see it on the screen there, as to the measurements and the drawing that was submitted to us for the permit. You can see how the line was drawn straight down. Yet, if you look at the survey there, near the bottom where the 8.6 distance from the property line is, you can see where that curve, the property line curves up a little, so it's pretty much of I wouldn't say a common error, but easily mistaken. So I think that it does meet the standards. As Member Savarese has stated, the neighbors were in favor of it. And I think this will not have a negative impact on the neighborhood or the character of the neighborhood. And I'm going to approve this application.
Thank you. Joe?
I too am going to approve the application. Terry already mentioned the one thing that I thought it was an understandable mistake because it actually complies on one corner of the building and it doesn't comply on the other corner. Maybe that's one reason you shouldn't do your own construction, but and it's set back from the street and the neighbors most affected haven't objected. So I'm not going to repeat everything else.
Yeah, I'm in agreement to approve this. Couple of points that the side yard variance is 1.4 feet, very minor. The pyramid variance is 6 inches. I think that we have often applicants come in front of us and say that a builder's error caused the deck to be 6 foot larger than it is, and or a house to be someplace, and it's easy to be skeptical of those. This is classically a builder's error. This is he lays it out off the property line at one end. Yes, he should have been more aware of it, but the fact is, it's a very minor problem. There is a letter of support from the affected neighbor who owns the property, both the east and the south. And then I think the layout mistake occurs because of the way the property line angles, and the layout works at the front of the garage, but of course not at the back. The other two things here that are important to me was the problem occurs 200 feet off of School Street, so it has no effect on the property, anybody passing by there. And it is unlikely to affect or have any impact on future structures at the southern line of it. So I think that there was a minor mistake made by the owner here, in this case, the applicant, but I'm very willing to approve this application.
Thank you. I agree. It's funny. I had the applicant come in here and say he was careless. I think this is almost an understandable mistake, because you can clearly see he tried to make it perpendicular to the one property line, not taking an effect. But all in all, when you just pare it down to the request, the variance request, is very minor because of that skewed property line to the south. So I agree with approving this application. Council, we okay?
Yep.
We have two extensions of time. One is John Senior at 200 Cranberry Hole Road, Narragansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-152-1-10. And it's an extension of a 2015 determination. Tyler?
Sure. So Senior is a fairly straightforward extension of time. There's actually sediment control fencing up on the property right now. I believe we signed off on a building permit to be issued. We inspected the property and it's good to go. I don't think we had any concerns. It was last extended last year. They've been keeping up on their extensions of time. It seems pretty straightforward.
When was the last time you inspected the property?
Well, they had a building permit issued in April, so it was probably inspected by us just prior to that, as far as checking it for erosion. The project.
Just making sure that environmental conditions haven't changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed on the property.
Thank you. I have no problem with it.
I have no problem with it.
That's why I don't have a problem with it. If it's been inspected
I
and
agree.
they're,
I
you
agree
know.
with that.
Me too. I agree.
Oh.
In the matter of John Senior, 200 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-152-01-10, I make a motion to grant the request for the extension of time.
Second. I concur.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. Next, we have Caruso's at 79 Miller Lane East, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-161-3-15, an extension of a 2013 determination.
So this extension of time is getting a little bit older. Obviously, it's 2013. It was for an as-built structure then. I think it was a mistake that they didn't get their CO at the time, so they're looking to get their CO now for the structure. Nothing's changed on the property. The shed is still in the same location. Nothing's changed.
And it's not an RSP or anything.
No, it's
like that.
just I believe side yard
area.
Yeah, pyramid.
Okay, I'm fine with this.
I am
Me
too.
too. Yeah, me too.
Thank you. Therefore, I make a motion in the matter of Caruso's, 79 Miller Lane East, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-161-3-15 to approve the extension of time.
Second. Concur.
I concur.
Thank you. We have the minutes of May 23rd, 2023.
I would like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes from May 23rd, 2023 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll second it.
Concur. Concur.
I concur. Thank you. We have resolutions this evening. First is Sama and Sylvia Iskander at 98 Runnymede Drive in Spring, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-23-4-10.
The purpose of this application was to construct a 416 square foot swimming pool with pool equipment, relocate the sanitary system, and alter the driveway in a parcel of land containing bluffs, tidal wetlands, and beaches. It required a natural resource special permit along with one variance. Overall, the applicant agreed with the request from the planning department to vegetate a 20-foot buffer from the bluff crest for any project on the west side of the existing residence. The applicant will be updating the sanitary system, which will meet the required separation of groundwater, further improving the parcel and protecting the Gardener's Bay. The improvement has been created to fit within the boundaries of the existing structures and will only increase hardened surfaces by 6.4 feet. As such, the entire board found in favor of the application and agreed in approving it.
In the matter of the application of Sama and Sylvia Iskander, 98 Runnymede Drive, Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-23-4-10. I make a motion that we approve this determination as written.
Second.
I concur.
Who's going to concur? We have 2 seconds.
Oh, I'm taking this one.
All right, you concur. I concur. Next have 20 Whalers Lane LLC at 20 Whalers Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-152-2-15.9.
This application was to demolish the existing swimming pool, construct a new swimming pool, spa, and plunge pool, construct 219 square foot of additions, reconstruct the existing decking, relocate stairs, create a new outdoor kitchen, new outdoor shower, and construct a new, I don't know what a quiet soleil is, but over the existing decking and balcony, new stairs and roof deck generator, upgraded sanitary system foundation changes for FEMA compliance, including a couple other additions. It required a natural resource special permit and 8 variances. The board felt that the current application, the project appears to be in keeping with the neighborhood and also with the board 1991 approval, which established the resident that currently exists. Further, with the extensive scenic easement on the parcel protecting by very high quality dune land, habitat, and wetlands, this was a good candidate as far as a natural resource special permit. The property already contained the protection of the scenic easement that's approximately 60% of the lot and has plentiful vegetation. The applicant will also remove invasive species while implementing the new re-veg plan, which is a benefit to the property. The improvements have been created to fit within the boundaries of the existing structures and will only increase hardened surfaces minimally. The application requires very little change to the existing footprint of the property, and the proposed additions to the residence are mainly squaring off rounded corners and filling in areas. As such, the majority of the board found in favor of the application, with member summaries dissenting to the pool variance and the natural resource special permit on that.
Will the spa, the plunge pool, and the pool, the 3.
Okay, I'll change that before I present.
Yeah, I denied all 3.
Okay, spa and the plunge pool. Got it. I'll edit that before.
All right, thank you.
So we can make that motion with those changes in mind.
In the matter of 20 Whalers Lane LLC, 20 Whalers Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-152-2-15.9, I make a motion to accept the decision as written with the changes we just discussed incorporated.
Second.
Concur.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. We next have Robin Weingansett at 182 Shore Drive East, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-107-01-03.
This application was previously actually approved. However, there was an error found on the survey date. It was Actually, it wasn't. Yes, it was approved. So in such, we've updated the survey date just to keep everything consistent, and that's the only thing that changed in this application and the amended determination was the addition of the updated survey under number 1 in section. Okay. That was it. It was a minor change.
Thank you.
In the matter of Robin Weingast, 182 Shore Drive East, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-101-01-03, I make a motion to accept the decision as written and as amended and as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
And I concur. We next have CLLC at 230 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, Suffolk, tax number 300-87-3-9.
The board had agreed to a modification of the previous determination on this. The amendment requested for the previous approved survey and building plans are de minimis in nature and do not add any additional variances or create new variances by the board's approval of such modifications. All additional improvements will be north and west of the property, and no additional improvements will be getting closer to the natural resources on the property or south of the property line. All improvements are in the same relative location as previously approved, but have shifted to accommodate construction changes. As such, the amendment will occur under conditions of approval, section I, and it will be an updated survey under 1, and then updated building plans and updated design plans under 2A and B.
Thank you. Whose was this?
Terry,
This was mine? Oh, okay.
I think it was.
And for the application for SIA LLC, 230 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, tax map 300-087-03-09. I make a motion to approve the modification as written.
I abstained.
I second it.
Concur.
I concur. Thank you. And that brings us to an end of this meeting.
I do have 2 more determinations that were pre-written for next week, if you just want to put them on the record tonight, but you guys got them, and they're open house and a Jello.
Oh, yeah. I read them.
Just to kind of
Right.
move them along.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have.
I can read them in for you.
Okay, I don't have to.
Yeah, I didn't put them, I guess they didn't get attached to it, it's fine. They're supposed to be on for next week. Next week's the deadline on the 2 of them. We got them done early, so we're just gonna go ahead and put them on the record tonight so that they can get out to their applicants. I'm sure that they would like them. The Mark Alvin House application with Suffolk County Tax Map 300-039-14-19.1 was the hearing date of April 25th, 2023. The purpose of the application was to construct the 826 square foot deer fencing and driveway gates on the property containing tidal wetlands with a portion of the fencing to be constructed within the wetland setbacks. They needed a natural resource special permit and 1 variance. Overall, the property is large and can accommodate the fencing and only spans 826 feet. The applicant will be conditioned on going to A or B as the fence is proposed to be over 6 feet in height. The applicant seeking the fencing in order to restore the revegetation that has been destroyed by the deer and to allow buffering occur naturally. We did make a slight change to the application. So there will be an exhibit attached to this determination that just shows that the fence line will follow the clearing line throughout the application where it is right now, instead of creating a new further additional line. I also did remove section C. I was told by Morgan that they didn't want the CNR for at least 2 inches above the seasonal high groundwater. And since we're talking about a fence here, it's really not relevant anyway. And that takes away the requirement for the CBR. So C and D will be removed, and then this will be filed. As such, the application was approved by the majority of the board with member Berger and member Savarese dissenting.
Thank you.
So in the matter, I'm going to do this from memory, see if I got this right. In the matter of the application of Open House, Suffolk County, tax map number 300-39-14-19.1.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Springbanks Road, Hog Creek. I make a motion that we accept the determination as written.
I'll second that.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. Next.
The last one will be for Michael Agello. The Suffolk County tax map numbers 300-19-8-21 and 22.1. The purpose of this application was to merge two adjoining properties and allow 160 square foot shed, fish pond, stone wall, slate walkway with patio, slate pool patio, southeast patio, driveway gate, and pergola to remain. They needed a natural resource special permit and 4 variances. The merging of the two properties would prohibit another residence from being built on the parcel, and therefore maintaining and increasing the natural resources on the property by adding a scenic easement to the property. The driveway is changing minimally, if at all, and the benefits of the resources on the property by removing the portion that would be inside the scenic easement. No adjacent property owners spoke against the project at the public hearing. No improvements will affect the surrounding area or the character of the neighborhood, and the applicant shall revegetate the scenic easement on the property and shall replace the driveway with quartz gravel since it remains close proximity to the wetlands. The entire board found in favor of approving this application.
Okay. And the address of that, okay.
The address of this one
Sorry.
is 19 Fenwick Road and 13 Fairview Avenue.
You just need the I think you just need the tax map.
All right, then the matter of yellow Suffolk County Tax Map 300-19-8-21-21-22.1. I want to make a motion to accept the determination as written.
Second. Concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. That wraps up this evening, and I'm gonna ask the vice chair to make a motion to close the meeting, and we're gonna go into exec session to discuss a legal matter. Before we do, I just want to say this is Hope's last meeting with us, and I just want to say thank you, Hope. You've been wonderful. We're gonna miss you. We wish you best of luck in your next position, but we enjoyed having you. And
Thanks, I enjoyed being here for sure.
Thank you. We'll miss you.
Thank you.
Then I'd like to make a motion to close the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing and work session for June 6th, 2023 at 8:21 PM.
You go into exec?
And then go immediately into executive session.
Second.
Concur.
I concur. Matt, can we say here exec? If you
Yes, just give me a second, please.